Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to absolutely demystify the complexities of SaaS revenue recognition, ASC 606 compliance, and enterprise billing architecture, drawing right from our source material. If you've ever wondered why your company's booked revenue doesn't perfectly match the cash sitting in the bank, or say why your finance team gets so stressed out when a customer upgrades mid-month, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to unpack exactly how modern software companies actually process these super complex financial realities.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, the SaaS revenue illusion. 2, the ASC 606 5-step model. 3, surviving mid-cycle modifications. And 4, the Revenue Subledger solution. Let's get to it. Section 1, the SaaS revenue illusion. So, let's just go ahead and shatter a really common misconception about money in the SaaS world. In the subscription economy, cash and earned revenue, they're completely decoupled. And honestly, confusing the two is pretty much the fastest way to fail an audit. Just imagine this scenario from our sources. A customer signs a contract and hands you $12,000 upfront for an annual subscription. You look at the bank account, you see the cash, and you'd naturally think, awesome, we just made $12,000 today, right? Well, actually, scratch that. Under standard accounting rules, you haven't earned a single dollar of it yet. Crazy, right? But why is that? It's simply because you haven't actually delivered the service you promised for the next 12 months. And that right there brilliantly illustrates the concept of deferred revenue. It kind of sounds like a good thing, having all that cash, but deferred revenue is actually recorded as a liability on your balance sheet. It's a liability because you literally owe the customer 12 whole months of software access. Only as each month passes and you successfully deliver that service, can you take $1,000 of that cash and recognize it as true earned income on your income statement. Section 2, ASC 606, 5-step model. Now, to figure out exactly when and how to turn that deferred revenue liability into recognized revenue, we really need to transition to the ultimate accounting rulebook. Our sources heavily emphasize the standardized 5-step model from ASC 606. This is the mandatory framework. It dictates how every single dollar of revenue must be recorded as it's earned over time. You've got to identify the contract, identify your performance obligations, determine the transaction price, allocate that price, and finally recognize the revenue as the obligations are satisfied. You absolutely cannot skip a step here. Now, step 2 of that model, it is particularly critical. You must identify and separate your performance obligations. Basically, those are the distinct promises within a contract. For instance, say you sell a bundle that includes ongoing software access, plus a one-time training fee. Those are 2 completely distinct promises. You have to separate them because your software revenue is going to be recognized ratably over time, like over 12 months, while that one-time training fee, that might be recognized completely the very moment the training is finished. And pay close attention to step 4, allocating the price via the standalone selling price, or SSP. Think about it. If you sell a highly discounted bundle, you can't just randomly assign that discount to whatever product you feel like. No way. You must allocate the total transaction value based on the SSP. That's simply what each item would sell for all by itself. If your team doesn't accurately document and use the standalone selling price to allocate the value of those bundled deals, you are literally inviting a massive audit risk. So those 5 steps, they work perfectly in a totally static world. But SaaS is definitely not static. Section 3, surviving mid-cycle modifications. Let's explore the messy reality of subscriptions, where customers are constantly upgrading, downgrading, or tweaking their plans mid-term. The stakes are incredibly high here. The source material actually notes an astonishing statistic. Weak contract management, especially around these messy mid-cycle adjustments, costs companies an average of 9.2% of their annual revenue. That's almost 10%. When billing systems can't handle those complex midterm prorations, revenue just leaks right out of the business through manual calculation errors and, poor data tracking. To stop this revenue leakage, our sources outline a pretty rigorous 3-scenario framework. Basically, every time a customer changes their contract, your finance team has to ask 2 questions. Are distinct goods being added? And does the new price reflect the standalone selling price? Depending on those answers, the accounting treatment is going to fall into one of 3 distinct buckets. The absolute easiest scenario is the new separate contract. If a customer buys a completely distinct add-on, let's say it's a fancy new premium analytics module, and they buy it at its normal, full standalone selling price, it's treated totally cleanly as a brand new separate contract. Your previous revenue recognition schedule stays perfectly intact, and a brand new schedule begins just for that add-on.
Nice and simple.
But, well, what if the change isn't that clean? If a customer expands their current services but does it at a steep, below-market discount, you've got yourself a prospective adjustment. You basically just adjust the recognition schedule running forward from that day on without touching anything in the past. However, if a customer downgrades or reduces their plan, this triggers a cumulative catch-up, and this one is definitely the hardest. A downgrade forces your finance team to retroactively recalculate recognized revenue as of the modification date, and then record a one-time adjustment to bring the books current. Let me tell you, trying to do this manually in spreadsheets across hundreds of customers, it's practically impossible without making critical errors. Or, making your accountants want to quit on the spot.
Which naturally brings us to the real operational bottleneck here. Section 4, the Revenue Subledger solution. Let's explore the architectural resolution to all of this spreadsheet chaos.
With all these mid-cycle proration nightmares, the prospective adjustments, the cumulative catch-ups, and those super strict ASC 606 rules, how on earth do you keep your company's core financial records safe, accurate, and actually audit-ready? If your CRM or billing system is just dumping raw, calculated data directly into your general ledger, your ERP is going to be completely overwhelmed with messy, unstructured transactions. It's a recipe for disaster. The structural solution to all this is a revenue subledger. Think of this as a dedicated automated layer that sits right inside a sophisticated billing platform. It automatically processes the millions of messy billing events, calculates the prorations, handles all that complex ASC 606 allocation logic we talked about, and then it feeds only clean, highly summarized compliant data straight into your general ledger. It's basically a protective shield for your ERP. And what this does is create a beautiful, clean separation of concerns. In a well-integrated enterprise architecture, the sales teams work purely in the CRM. That system owns the commercial relationship. Then, the automated billing system sits right in the middle, owning the complex subledger math and all the invoice execution. And finally, your ERP receives only the summarized data, remaining the pristine, completely uncorrupted financial source of truth. The data just flows smoothly in one direction. As our sources strongly emphasize, implementing this automated architecture isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's what actually makes ASC 606 compliance possible at scale. Without it, you're literally forcing your finance team to manually bridge the gap between really dynamic customer behavior and those super strict accounting laws. And that inevitably leads to extreme burnout and, worse, major compliance failures. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Take a hard look at your own tech stack. Look at exactly how your organization handles a mid-cycle downgrade or a complex software bundle today. Ask yourself, is your revenue recognition truly built to scale automatically? Or is your deferred revenue schedule basically just a giant spreadsheet waiting to break, leaving you just one single mid-cycle downgrade away from an absolute audit disaster? Well, thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gives you a much clearer lens on the underlying mechanics of modern SaaS revenue.